Well, I'd certainly like to welcome everyone to this UNI Football Media Day. Thank you for coming out. Just to introduce myself, for those that don't know me, Colin McDonough, Assistant AD for Athletic Communications here at the University of Northern Iowa. Certainly appreciate your coverage throughout the year. Thank you for coming today. We'll go ahead and get started today with our head coach, Mark Farley, entering his 17th season with the Panthers, the all-time wins leader, 134 wins.
Okay, so we're going to do a little bit different this year. All right. What I'd like to do, since there are so many new staff members, and I know you guys want to get to know them a little bit too, the way we'll handle this as far as introduction of things is each staff member will come up and talk about his position. So you get a little bit about him, a little bit about his position that I normally do, he can take care of, and then you can get to know him. The only thing I ask to do so we can keep this thing somewhat expedited is that any questions, don't ask these coaches questions. I'll come up afterwards and answer anything you have and summarize everything. And then if you want to get a separate coach on the floor, you can grab them down on the floor once we get down there. But right now, if we can I'll let them speak, and then I'll follow up behind them. So we'll start it off because they'll kind of pass the baton off to the next coach. I'm going to start off with Coach Simmons. Coach Simmons is our co-offensive coordinator and is our offensive line coach. And then each coach thereafter will introduce and go right on down the line.
My name is Mike Simmons. It's a great pleasure to be here at University of Northern Iowa. Being a former Missouri Valley Conference football player down the road at Indiana State, I know Northern Iowa very well from playing against them and coaching against them in 2010. Coach Farley runs an outstanding program here. To me, being at some different BCS schools, this is a great place to be because that's how this program is run. It's a no-nonsense blue-collar program, and looking really forward to this 2017 football season. Yes, sir.
Sorry, you have to replace a four-year starter at center. You said, and back in the spring you said you're looking at anybody and everybody. Have you narrowed that down, or the field down?
Well, as we get through what Coach Farley calls OTAs, and we get into our hitting practices, of course, we've had 2 of those. To me, we'll find all starters the week of the Iowa State game. So that's really what we're working towards. And what's great is we have a lot of competition up front, so the cream will rise to the top. Some guys that are working in there now, of course, returning starter Lee Carhart, played starting center in the spring, went to the fall camp, so it's his job right now. And the competition is going to come from various areas. We have Jacob Appleman, who's also repping at center. He's a versatile lineman that can play inside at center guard or tackle. So we're just weighing it out and see where the best places for those guys will be. Also, I'm working Nick Ellis at some center. And I also will look at some other younger guys who probably are a year or 2 out.
Can you talk about the progress of Bryce Sweeney? He's missed a year, and where's he at in his development, or getting back into playing shape?
Well, with Bryce Sweeney, he sat out the spring, recovering from an injury. He probably could have went spring. They held him out. Him and Jackson Scott Brown did all the drills, but none of the hitting in the spring. So I got a chance to see him move around a little bit. This summer, of course, he was able to do all the off-season workouts. He's done a real good job. Coming into fall camp as a 2, of course, we're a long way away from determining starters, but he's been running 1 right tackle and doing a real good job for us. It's great to have a returning starter like Bryce Sweeney in there. But again, we got a few weeks to go before we determine who the starters will be. Thank you.
My name is John Bond. I am the co-offensive coordinator and quarterback coach. Been in it a long time. Some of the best things that have ever happened to me is I've been fortunate enough to be around a lot of good folks. I played in G8 at Arkansas for 2 Hall of Fame guys, Lou Holtz and Ken Hatfield, 2 completely different personalities, but 2 Hall of Famers. And I've had the good fortune to be around a lot of those kind of guys, the Hall of Fame type football coaches, guys that know how to motivate, guys that know how to X and O, guys that know how to recruit, and really the cream of the crop. Later down the line in my career, I was fortunate enough to be a Joe Novak at Northern Illinois, and he resurrected that program from the dead. I mean, he had as bad a bunch of characters that he inherited in that program. He cleaned it all up. weeded all the bad guys out, and kind of got that thing started to where it is today. He got it rolling and made it an elite program. An Orange Bowl team 3 or 4 years ago, and a lot of that is due to him. I don't know that he's in the Hall of Fame, but in my book, he's a Hall of Fame kind of guy. Was around Bill Curry at Georgia State, who played for Vince Lombardi and Don Shula. Played for Bobby Dodd at Georgia Tech, and was ACC Coach of the Year, SEC Coach of the Year, and have been blessed along those lines. When I had the good fortune to have the opportunity to come here, that certainly was one of the attractions for me. Mark Farley, Coach Simmons and I were talking the other day. He is not in the Hall of Fame right now, but he's headed that direction. He's a Hall of Fame type coach. When you have the type of sustained success that he has had over his career, you know, it's one thing to win, have a good season, then have another good season, maybe a third season. That is a heck of a lot easier to have some success than have sustained success, and that's what separates the great ones from the Hall of Famers. So that was certainly an attraction to me. This is my third go-around in this league. I was at Southwest Missouri State, which is now Missouri State. Was at Southwest back in the late 80s and have been in this building and know firsthand what it's like to come in this building and play when it's loud. And we always knew that we were going to have our work cut out for us because we knew we were going to be in for a physical 60-minute fight. And if we were going to have any hope to win, we knew we better be ready to be strapped up and ready to go. The late 90s, I was at Illinois State. The last time I was in the Uni Dome in a real football game was in 1999. We brought that Illinois State football team in here. But those were really the two things that really attracted me to Northern Iowa. Excited to be here. I think we have enough talented football players that I think we can have about as good a season as our players in their hearts. You know, however bad and however much they want to win, I think we certainly have the talent to go about as far as those guys want to take us. So now I'm going to introduce Nick Danielson, our tight end coach.
How are you guys doing today? And well, first, thank you for coming out. My name is Nick Danielson. I coach the tight ends. I'm actually going into my third season here. I've had a chance to meet a couple of you guys and really get around some great people since I've been here. One thing that stuck out to me at UNI and here in Cedar Falls, Waterloo, is just the people we're around. Us as coaches, we're in a people business. This is a people business, it's a family business, and one thing I've really recognized through that is the people that I've been around, both in that coaching staff, in the athletic department, and other sports and things like that. It's been a joy to be around so far. I coach the tight ends, unique position. Okay, I've got a great group of guys. We got a small room, great group of workers. Okay, they've kind of adapted a little bit of a nickname to themselves. They call themselves the hybrids. What that means for us, okay, I truly believe, and this may be a selfish opinion, but I truly believe we have one of the hardest jobs on the football team, okay? My guys in our meetings spend just as much time evaluating our run game, going through every blocking scheme between playing tight end, fullback, wingback, moving around in the backfield, things like that, and understanding the fronts we have to do. And then right when I get done with that, I get them up, give them a bathroom break. Guys, it's time to talk passing game. In the passing game, it doesn't stop there. It's protections. I got to go through every protection we have that we're involved in. When protections are done, guys, get up, take a restroom break. Time to talk route trees. We come back and we go through our entire passing system. The kids we have in that room are very intelligent. They can handle that. We recruit guys into that position that can handle what we ask them to do. If we don't think they can handle it, they either end up in a different position or I'm not doing a good enough job teaching it. But so far, I've been fairly lucky in that those kids have been able to take on a lot of what I've thrown at them. My room specifically, I've got 2 returning starters in true sophomore Bradley Moore and going to be a redshirt junior Elias Nissen. Elias Nissen out of Springville, Iowa, played 8-man ball. To be completely honest, when I got here, Elias Nissen didn't really know how to get into a 3-point stance. He was a high school running back. It's been a real joy of mine going into my 3rd season to see that kid grow. Bradley Moore was a high school receiver, came out of Blue Springs South High School in Kansas City, Missouri. Bradley, we ended up playing as a true freshman, as a lot of you guys know, last year. Bradley is a tough kid. He adapted it. He came into that business last year. 2-minute situation. If you guys were at the game or followed the game against Iowa State, we're driving before half. We need to get a big first down on 3rd and 9, okay, to extend the drive, get down into field goal range or possibly into scoring range. We called a play to a true freshman tight end that was playing a brand new position. Kid caught the ball, broke a tackle, got upfield, got us in position to keep moving the chains, and we ended up scoring on 4th and goal or 3rd and goal to go into halftime. Elias started last year. He's going in right now, and those two kids are battling. I tell the room every day, I don't have a starting tight end, and I have 2 tight ends right now that are going to play on the field, and they're going to have their roles on the field. Our goal has been to develop those kids, and my personal goal into increasing their skill set where their weaknesses are. They both have their skills. We got to develop where their weaknesses are. They'll continue to grow in their strengths, but if they don't grow in their weaknesses, I'm not doing my job, and they're not doing their part. I've got another returning kid, redshirted last year, Peyton Williams, converted high school quarterback. You guys can see the trend right now. That's 3 kids, not one of them played tight end. Tight end in high school is a dying breed, and we have to find a special athlete for that. Peyton will kind of get in the mix a little bit this year. After he redshirted, he added on about 25 pounds. And true sophomore came out true freshman that came into the business this year out of Olathe, Kansas, Matthew Vanderslice. Matthew's a big, tall kid, physical kid, great high school basketball player, very intelligent kid that's really picked things up and moved through the room so far. And then we did bring another individual on this football team over that redshirted last year named Trey Reckner, who was a linebacker for us last year at redshirted, that's joined the room as well and become one of our hybrids. I've got a great group of kids to coach. They're a blast. Coach Bond and Coach Simmons' offense that I've been around is really starting to involve them a lot. I have true receiving threats at tight end. I have kids that are just as tough as the linemen we have, not as big, just as tough as the linemen we have, and they're a joy to coach. I tell them to be out there at 8:30, they're out there at 8:15, waiting for me to be out there. They've made me a better coach, and what they've asked me to do and the way they come to work every day has made this been a joy for me so far through this spring and this fall. So we got a lot of new coaches on staff. I want to get on to our next one that some of you guys, depending on how long you've been around here, probably know the name, but I'll introduce DP Iman, our running backs coach.
What's going on, guys? It's good to be back. Just briefly, I played 2005, 2009, and haven't been back since 2009. It's my first time back. Just to echo a little bit of what Coach Bond said, I've been very fortunate as well, trying to navigate this profession with some of the people that I've been able to be around, continue to learn the game from. With Al Borges at San Jose State, Greg Robinson, getting to work with those 2 guys. Brief period down at Florida Atlantic, obviously some big name, some very good coaches down there that I got to be around and learn from. But for me, it all started right here, the University of Northern Iowa. This is where coaching became a passion. It's where coaching became what I wanted to do. And it was a direct result of the guys that I got to work with. Coach Farley, guys that I got to learn from. Coach Farley, Coach Verduzco, Coach Solomon, Coach Shenander, Coach Frost. The pedigree of coaches that come from this university or the pedigree of coaches that are currently at this university is unbelievable. And it was very special for me to be able to come back to this university and be a part of that. There are some things that changed. Everything's a little bit nicer. The town's getting, there's more restaurants, more food options. There's some stuff going on. Some things don't change at all. And, that's the pedigree of coaching, the type of kids that we have in here. When I got the running back group and tried to get to know all these guys and started evaluating who they are, the thing that stuck out was nothing changed there. We recruit the types of kids that I got to play with in the 2005 to 2009 seasons. Just the other day, as a staff, offensive staff, we were talking. I said, Trevor Allen reminds me of Corey Lewis. And that's the truth. I mean, we all remember Corey Lewis. He's a heck of a player. A lot of production, did a lot of things. If it wasn't for David Johnson, Corey Lewis would probably be the most prolific running back that's played here. And that was awesome. I see a lot of Corey Lewis and Trevor Allen, the way that he plays. Javion Browning, another guy, he's a different type of player. And I can't think of anything better as far as a running back room to have different types of runners. Javion Browning's a different type of runner than Trevor Allen, different type of player, but that fits perfectly into what we do offensively, what Coach Bond and Coach Simmons like to do offensively. It's awesome. Marcus Weimiller, another guy, he's a walk-on that ended up getting some playing time and earned himself a scholarship. I mean, that's awesome right there, and that's what I came from, right? That's the University of Northern Iowa. This program has kind of been built on guys like that, guys that come in, learn the system, love football, want to play. And I was sitting there thinking about those 3 guys. Corey Lewis, Derek Law, and Carlos Anderson are all on the same team. That was a pretty good 1-2-3 punch right there. And I think we have the same 1-2-3 punch, those types of guys in that room, that we can do some awesome things with as far as how we can package things, how we can attack people, different types of players that can all fit within the way that we play. Coach Radusco and Kevin Smith, running backs coach at Florida Atlantic, two of one lesson I learned from both guys, and they both said the same thing, was you got to learn to be able to use a player's personality within the framework of the offense. And to have three different guys like that have three different approaches to life, three different approaches to football, three different skill sets, but be able to have them in a room and they can all fit in and find a place in this offense, I think that's really exciting. It's exciting for me to be able to work with those guys and see what we can do as far as running backs and make that stuff go. So I'm excited to be back. I'm excited to keep working with them. I'm excited to see how we continue to progress through the rest of camp. Then we get into the season, and it should be a lot of fun. So thanks a lot. I'm going to introduce Pat McCann, wide receivers coach.
So my name is Pat McCann, coach the wide receivers. Got here in the spring. Came here, spent the last 4 years out in the Big Sky Conference. So you kind of start admiring some programs from afar. And, we had a chance. We had some crossover games, whether it was, Big Sky versus Missouri Valley or, maybe another team that played a Missouri Valley team. And so you kind of start recognizing the programs that kind of in that upper echelon. And so for me, Northern Iowa was one of those things where I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it going, man, the dome looks sweet. And, man, they got some players. And then I started realizing that, there's a reason why year in and year out it looks like that. And then you go back and you look at the history, it's like that. So when Coach Farley made the phone call to me and said, hey, do you want to come out and coach our wide receivers, it was a no-brainer for me. When I look at from this position, specifically at UNI, the history of the wide receivers here is pretty impressive. I can still remember being, 15 years old and Eddie Berlin's my, third receiver on Madden. I'm looking at it going, oh, man, that guy played at Northern Iowa. So the tradition here is there. And so I look at it and I go, it's kind of humbling to be entrusted with that position here. Coach Farley also, when he called me, he said, hey, we've got a really talented, but young group that they don't know what they don't know yet. Okay. And so when you look at the group, Derice Fountain, everybody, recognizes the name Derice Fountain because he's been productive the last few years. And his work ethic is second to none. He has done a phenomenal job getting ready for this season. But then we also have a bunch of guys that played as true freshmen and redshirt freshmen last year. So, you talk about Jalen Rima, who I think we're just scratching the surface with him. I'm excited about what he brings to the table. Jalen James, another guy that when you talk about the work ethic and the work that he's put in to get ready for this season, he's done a phenomenal job trying to build on last season, getting ready for his redshirt sophomore season. So I'm really excited about Jalen James. Christian Jagan is another guy that played as a true freshman last year. His versatility, he's got a variety of skill sets. He adds kind of a dimension to the offense that allows us to kind of be real multiple. And I'm excited about the whole group collectively because the skill sets are very diverse. And then on top of that, when you add in the fact that there's some experience with the youth, it's a really exciting time to be, coaching those guys. So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited about the direction we're going and appreciate you coming out.
Good afternoon. My name's DJ Vokalek. I'm the linebackers coach here at UNI. A little bit about my background. I was actually here. This is my second stint here at the University of Northern Iowa. I spent time here, very fortunate to be here from 2003 to 2005 with Coach Farley. And then spent some time after I left here the first time, still coaching in the Missouri Valley Conference. And my most recent stint was at the University of Buffalo in the Mid-American Conference. Excited to be back here, very excited. It's great to see some very familiar faces, and it's great to see a lot of new faces. There are some things that are the same here, but a lot of things that are different. The facilities here have changed tremendously from when I was here the first time with big screen scoreboard, new locker room, new weight room. What that shows, I think, is the commitment that the University of Northern Iowa has to its football program, and to do things, to make things better, so that, hopefully we can do some of the things that I was fortunate to be a part of the first time that I was here. A little bit about my decision to come back here. When Coach Farley gave me a call and had a position open, I was truly, truly excited to come back here. The people here in the Cedar Valley, number one, are great people. The time that my family and I had while we were here, the first stint, we love this place. And it's great to be back and be a part of the community. The commitment here at the University of Northern Iowa is unbelievable. The fan support, the amount of fans that pack the dome on Saturdays, it's extremely exciting. And one thing about this place that really stands out is the tradition. There's great tradition here at the University of Northern Iowa. There's been good coaches that have been here. I feel very excited about the coaches that we have on staff right now, and I'm excited to be a part of it and very, very excited to be back. I'm coaching the linebackers. That was what I did the first time in my first stint here at Northern Iowa. Still brand new, learning some names, learning some faces, but feel very good about the position so far this fall. Led by Jared Farley. Last time I saw Jared, he was this tall. And boy, has he grown up and become a heck of a person, a heck of a student, and a heck of a football player. I've seen him on film in games. I've had, just a couple of practices with him, but tremendous football player, good player, good person, good kid, and I'm excited for his senior season. Blake Thomas is another linebacker that has shown some good things so far this fall. Has good size, is local from Waterloo. I'm excited to see what he can do once we get into game-type situations as we prepare for our first football game. I've seen some exciting things from him, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do when we go live. At the outside linebacker position, Ricky Neal has been one that has stood out to me. Christian Perez. I can go on down the line. I think we've got some experience there, but we've got some new guys that I'm excited to see what they can do, and truly looking forward to the opportunity to be back here and coach those guys. I'm going to turn it over to Coach Jeremiah Johnson.
Hi, guys. Jeremiah Johnson. This is not my favorite thing to do, but glad for the opportunity that Coach Farley gave us all to talk. This is the 11th year that I'll be at Northern Iowa. It's a great community. My wife Nikki and I have had an unbelievable experience here. The first fall we were here was 2007, and that was a great run. And it's been phenomenal. The thing that's different, I think, about Northern Iowa than all the other people that we play is the kids that we recruit, the guys that we're attracted to and that kind of stuff. They're unbelievable boys. They're great kids. They work hard. They want to be great. And they're really a lot of fun to be around. Secondly, very, very happy. We've got 3 new coaches on defense this fall. And I couldn't be any more pleased with the 3 guys that Coach Farley hired. Philosophically, in the defensive staff room, it's unbelievable. We work really well together. We've meshed well, and we even have a little bit of fun in the meantime. Since Coach Vokalek is coaching the linebackers, I've moved back with Coach Burris, and I'm focusing mostly on the safeties right now. And a couple guys that started for us last year, A.J. Allen and Elijah Campbell, have really done well through the first 6 practices. And I've been really pleased with their progress in terms of getting ready to actually be able to play a football game. We got a young man, came from the University of Wisconsin, named Keelan Brookins. And he's done a really nice job of picking everything up. We're still trying to figure out exactly what he is. But we've been really, really pleased in the room with the progress that he's made. We've got a host of young kids: Isaiah Nimmers, Corby Sander, Tyler Eads, Austin Evans, Zach Kibbe. Those guys haven't done a lot in terms of playing on Saturdays, but those guys are locked in. They work very hard every day, and they're trying to find a place to get on the grass. And so I've been really, really pleased with what those guys have done so far. And then we have 2 true freshmen in our room, a young man from Bettendorf named Suni Lane, and a kid from Western Dubuque named Max Steffen. And they're drinking from a fire hose a little bit, but they're both really good athletes, very talented kids, and I'm excited to see what they're going to be able to do here as we move through the next phase of fall camp. I'd like to introduce David Braun, our defensive line coach.
My name is David Braun. I coach our defensive line. Our family could not be more excited to be in the Cedar Valley and as a part of UNI football. Wife Kristen, 2 little boys, Lucas and Andrew, 2 and 6 months, and we have quickly realized what an incredible community this is to raise a family and to be a part of, and that includes this entire coaching staff. A lot of new faces, but quickly the wives have become good friends, and this is an incredible staff to be a part of. You know, for us, I've admired UNI from afar for a long time. I played my college football at Winona State. Always admired what this program stood for. Coached at Winona State for a long time, had an opportunity to come down and watch a couple games along the way, and have really seen what this community does for this program. And as a coach and as a staff, you pour so much into those players, and to see a community that pours so much into this program is something that's really neat for our family to see. You know, for us, you know, as coaches, one of the things that you quickly admire about your players is how hard they work. And I've been fortunate in my career. I've been around players that know what it means to work and know what it means to be a good teammate. I've been blown away with our football team. I've been blown away with our defensive line. Coach Farley works hard. This staff works hard. But this football team knows how to go to work. And as a coach, that's something that you truly appreciate. It's an honor to be a part of this program. The tradition that is here as a football team, the tradition that exists here on the defensive side of the ball, and the tradition that exists within that defensive line group is something that I feel honored to be a part of. And you know, we got our work cut out for us. It's a special room, great kids, great football players, but we know every day we have a standard to live up to, and we got to find a way to raise the bar and continue to grow as a group and make sure that we live up to that. Our defensive line group right now is an incredible mix of senior leadership and talented youth. Adam Reth is a special football player. He can play from, you know, a 9 all the way down to a zeroed up nose. You can find ways to create mismatches with him in all sorts of down and distances. Preston Woods falls into a similar category. He's playing all over the place for us right now. Incredible senior leadership out of those 2 guys. And, you know, our room will go as those 2 go. Bryce Douglas, another senior for us, continues to improve, continues to get better. I was really impressed with Bryce's growth throughout our spring ball period. And fall camp, that trend continues. And the youth in our room is something that I feel very fortunate to be around. They're young, they're inexperienced, but man, they have some older guys in the room to model after, and are very talented. Seth Thomas, Hezekiah Applegate, and Bronte Wells are guys that come to mind that are really coming up and doing a great job. Marcel Minifield continues to develop and grow as a pass rusher, and Jared Brinkman as a true freshman. He may be not as tall as Adam Reth, but that young man is an explosive individual that understands the physicality that's required of the position. So I feel very fortunate to be working with that group. I'm honored to be here at UNI and very excited for the 2017 season.
My name is Jeff Burris. I'm the cornersback coach. And did I hear Coach Danielson say that he had the toughest position to coach? Did anybody else hear that? Well, coaching corners, he's not gray yet. He's still young, so he doesn't have the gray hair. Just talking about the why. One of the main things I learned when I first got here, and our coattail, Coach Bond, has talked about, one of the main reasons that I came here was because of the quality of people, the quality of coaches, the talent that's been here. My first meeting with Coach Farley, he talked about always having a purpose. And as a young coach, you learn. I'm not young in age, but I'm young in the years I've been coaching. But you learn certain things. I've learned every day for the 6 months I've been here. This has been a blessing for me to be here, not only just from the player standpoint, the tradition that UNI has, but this is a phenomenal place. But I've grown as a coach just by being around Coach Farley. And if there's a better defensive coordinator in the country than Jeremiah Johnson that knows the X's and O's and knows the game from top down, please let me know, okay? Defensive line, I can go on and on. I can talk about each coach like this. I sat in on a recruiting meeting with Coach Brian. I had chills. Listening to him talk, the detail that he talked about, talking to this young man in a recruiting trip, it was phenomenal just to hear him talk. And I can go on and on with each staff member. Obviously, just Coach McCann, we work closely together because he's a receivers coach, I'm the corners coach. So we have to organize things and make sure that our guys are growing and developing every day, because that's the purpose of it, guys. That's the purpose, for each individual player to grow every day. And that's our job. That's what we came here to do, and that's ultimately at the end of the day, that's what we will do. But Coach McCann, the quality of coach he is, one of the finest young receivers coaches in the country. But besides all that, the tradition at UNI is the reason I came here. One of my mentors, Bob Elliott, told me about the job. Rest in peace, Bob. Told me about the job. He said, Jeff, you want me to better X and O's coaches than Mark Farley? I said, okay. I already knew a little bit about the tradition because I coached with the guy, Blue Adams, with the Miami Dolphins, and he told me about the tradition. And then I get here and I walk in the weight room, and I see our guys for the first time. I was like, man. I called back to a couple of my buddies. I was like, we may not be BCS. We sure look BCS. Because I've never been around a harder working group of young men in my life. We're doing winter conditioning outside in the cold on the track. The track is slippery. Those guys worked harder than anybody and no one complained. So you wonder what UNI is all about? That's what UNI is all about. It's tradition, toughness, hard work, integrity. Things that Coach Farley's instilled in this whole organization, but everyone keeps carrying that on. No matter who comes in each year, the faces may change, but the quality never changes. And I'm blessed to be here, and now getting to the secondary. We have quality. We're talented. We're talented there, but it's a day-to-day process. It's going to be a day-to-day process. It's going to take time. We'll have our growing pains. I'll get a little grayer by the end of the year. I understand that. That's the nature of it. But I accepted that responsibility. But the talent we do have, Malcolm Washington, obviously, we all know right now, Xavier Williams is going to be special, but it's going to take time. We got Nico Jagai. He's going to be another gentleman that's going to contribute. We need 4 guys that can contribute, that can help us win, that can lead us in the secondary, and we're looking for that. We're looking for leaders back there. As a whole, Coach Johnson and I have been blessed to, we organize our meetings, and we need that. We need leadership back there, and it'll happen. But I'm so excited about the opportunity that these guys present because they come out and they're prepared and they're ready to work. And we give them everything we have, and they accept it and keep going. So thank you for this opportunity again, and I look forward to talking to you each individually later.
All right, I'm Mark Farley. I'm the kicking coach. So got to take care of the specialists. We have one great one returning. Sam Cooter is our punter. He's our holder on our specialist group, and he's been mentoring and coaching that whole group the whole time. And that's how we coach special teams. It's kind of a hand-me-down process that one group teaches the next, and Sam leads that group, and he's a tremendous punter. Behind that, we'll end up being with Austin Eartham and or Sam Drysdale will end up being our kicker. We're working through that to see who it's going to be, but we'll let them battle that out. And then we also have Kuntz is a backup punter for Sam, and Kuntz will end up being a starter here. Great punter. He's just behind a great player right now. So that's the specialist, and open up for questions, and I'll follow from these guys.
Coach, you mentioned on the Missouri Valley Conference call the other day that Eli needs quality reps. What's that look like?
He just needs reps, you know, and the quality reps, when I say quality, you got to get game speed at him as best you can, and you got to get the receivers to run game speed routes because, you know, the timing is everything at the quarterback. Protection is everything at the quarterback, and getting the ball out on time. So when I say quality, he needs speed, game, speed reps. We can all practice, but you need game speed to be able to enter that first football game. By the time you get to the third, it all kind of, you've been through the games. He's had live games, so I've seen him play. But you can't, for a quarterback especially, you cannot replace experience. And he needs as much experience we can give him, along with Colton, the backup quarterback, and Christian, and then a couple of these young quarterbacks, Keller, Jacob Keller is also a guy. They all need experience. And as I told the whole room the other day, I don't believe I have been through a season at UNI that we got through the season with the same quarterback. So when you go through that all the way back to 2001, I was telling the story the other night, is 2001, we make the run. I believe it was Petrie that broke his collarbone. And then Griff Jurgens comes in, he runs the table to the Montana game. He got hurt, and we were played long enough that they got the collarbone healed and back to Tom Petrie. That's all in one season. And you go right down the line of any year here, some quarterback had to take a role throughout the season to win games. So we'll talk about Eli. He's our starting quarterback, no doubt. But I am also know that we have to have the other quarterback ready, who that becomes, because he will have to win a game this season for us, somehow, some way, with that other quarterback. Heck, last year, that other quarterback turned out to be Colton Howell and Marcus Weimiller, okay, because we had to do a little bit of movement at Indiana State, and it worked out. But, we'll see what happens this year, but Eli's our starting quarterback.
How's your preseason changed? I mean, you got a lot of new guys, obviously, as assistants. How's that changed your approach coming into the season? You spent a lot more time with those guys, kind of, directing them.
The coaches?
Yeah.
That's why I'm hoarse. No, I'm kidding you. It's hard to holler in the dome because your voice doesn't carry in there, and we've been in the dome a couple of days. But what's been good about it is it brings a different set of eyes into the room, and when you don't want to become stagnant in everything, I like to get a different view of stuff. Sometimes you can't see the forest of the trees, is what Moosier always used to say. And I know this, the more guys look at it through a different set of eyes from different places, they can see some things that maybe you don't see immediately, but are evident after you are aware of them. And those are the things when you get a bunch of guys together like this with different talents and skill sets, that they can bring different thoughts into the room. So I try to hire the most experienced guys with youth and with great futures. And I want them in the room because they need to be able to relate to our players and yet compete in a very strong coaching league. This is a very strong league of coaches. And you better be talented on a board, you better be talented as a recruiter, and you better be a great teacher. And I see that. I think I didn't know what these guys were going to say, but you need to see what they are. The one thing about UNI is we are who we are. We're not trying to fool anybody. This is who we are. This is how we play, and hopefully they will represent what we are when this is all said and done.
How has your preseason changed at all with the lack of two-a-days this year?
It's extended. This is actually the first day that we were supposed to report. Before they changed the rule, we report today. And this was the day we'd walk in, we wouldn't practice, we'd be moving into the dorms right now, and our first meeting wouldn't have even happened yet. This was supposed to be. When they changed the rule, they extended it by a week. And thus, coaches have made decisions whether to bring them in or to use that extra 7 days or wait till August to bring guys in. We chose to bring ours in because of the coaching staff. This gave us a chance to go slow. I think that's why you heard one coach say that I called it OTAs, and I related it to OTAs as organized team activities because it's more so, it wasn't about evaluation. It was about learning the plays, learning the system, getting acquainted with the coaches, the players, as well as getting the bodies in some type of shape to enter camp. So we will actually start camp tomorrow where the pace comes up and the level of intensity will rise. Up to that point, I've used it more as a chance to acquaint and get them physically ready for the run. So you did not have to go fast. So we're fortunate with this staff that we had this rule because I think it will help us as we go into the season.
With Coach Bond and Coach Simmons here and Eli under center, how do you envision the identity of the offense this year, Coach?
The identity will be developed by the players. Every team takes its own course. This team will find that course when it happens. It's already been started, of course, what started back in January. Some things happened this summer that they became stronger, some units. So it will play out as it plays out. And you can't force anything upon them. It has to take the role of the players. So that's why, in fact, one coach, I forget who told him, you got to play, I think it was DP, you got to play the personality of the players. That's my belief. You can't force anything upon them. We have changed every year based on the players that we've had. So we will go along, we will identify what becomes our strength, and that's what we'll play to.
Do you know who's going to be your play caller?
Yes. So we'll work through that, and I'll tell you when the time comes. But right now, that room is devised in such a way that Coach Simmons is a very strong individual, and the places that he's been and the systems that he's been, what I like about him is I think the number one position you got to have a strong coach at is offensive line. We have to get better at offensive line. So it's more about developing that culture of an offensive lineman at UNI, and I go along with a Walt Klinker, a Rick Nelson. Those guys were strong personalities, two different guys, but every great offensive line coach that I've been around has a strong demeanor about him, and his players will be tough, and they will respond at practice. That's what I wanted to create in that offensive line. Your offensive line is always your culture. It's not the quarterback. It's the offensive line. And then if you get two tight ends that are just as tough, then you got a chance. We have Elias and Briley, and I tell you what, those two are as good as tight ends at this point in their career as what we've had. And then now they have game experience. So you look at it, that's 6 positions of 11 on the field. That's the culture of our team. Everybody runs to the skill. I look to the line. And then the skill, their success will be based off how good the line is. And then you come back to the skill, you go look at the receivers. I think we can all look to the receivers, a lot of youth, a lot of speed, and a lot of unknowns, and only because of inexperience. It looks good on paper because of what they could be, but when you're looking at a bunch of guys that are 6'4", 6'5", that can run, you know you have a chance if they can catch and we can protect. And that's the group that needs to be honed to see what it become. But on paper, in the room, it's a good room. In fact, the other night, I think I said that as you go through that list, I mean, it's a lot of young guys that played as true freshmen here, and it's a lot of guys that were very, how do I say it? They were guys that were track guys in high school. So I feel good about that because you got to be able to move. So it's as good as room if we had a long, long time. Okay, I don't want to say it's as good as room if we had a long time, and it's got deep enough that we can get nicked up a little bit and still keep coming, and that's what you need to do. So I feel good about that. And then you look at the tailbacks. If anything, we're so used to big tailbacks around here. I mean, we've had a run of some guys, and as good as anybody around is proven out. But, there's no David Johnson in that room. But what we should be looking for is exactly what DP said. You have guys that have been great players here in our room in comparison. From Corey Lewis, now it's Trevor Allen. It's Marcus Weimiller. He's a different kind of player. And Javion Browning. So there's guys back there. It's just what will they become, because none of us have seen them. So, but nobody's anything without the O-line. There's no hole to run through. There's nothing to throw because you can't protect. And you can't move the ball if you can't move the line of scrimmage. So that's the culture of UNI football.
Coach, to follow up on the track athletes, just with Rima Williams and then Trousel just kind of getting in there, how have they translated? How's that speed translated to the turf?
That's a good question. We tripped on it a couple the first time. Turf monsters out there. It's very nice to have a surface that's safe. We had an unsafe surface in there, and the product didn't hold up. And for a long time, you saw guys slip and slide and play it in there. There's no question we struggled in there, and you never want to struggle on your own home football field. So we have a surface now that I was concerned. It's so, I don't want to call it so soft, but it's soft. And when I played, it was concrete. That was really fast. But now it's got a cushion to it, so anything with a cushion to it isn't as fast. But as I went through camps, because I don't time our own football players, as I went through high school camps, it's a fast surface, because we had times like we used to have in there that stood out. The other turf, you couldn't get a good time on, and you had 4.7s and 4.8s. You can get back into the 4.4s and the 4.5s on this surface, which tells me it's a good surface. And you can break on it. We couldn't break on the other surface. We'd slide. For every step you took, you'd slide 3. So you can break on this surface, and that's important because we recruit that. And I remember the other surface. I said, we're recruiting to this surface, which is a speed surface. And we can recruit speed. We just need a surface to play on that we can be fast on. So that's what we're looking for, and hopefully this surface will allow us to do that.
Coach, not to focus on today, but for just a moment, because it is going to happen this weekend. Kurt Warner goes in the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. What does that do for the program? Is that something, I don't think capitalize is the right word, but is that something that you can amplify when you're out on the trail, when you're recruiting, when you're just interacting with people about the program?
I'll go to our meeting the other night. You're trying to teach young guys about UNI, okay? Because part of it, they become it in time. And when you look at our room, you got the seniors in the front and the freshmen in the back. So the seniors is what you see, okay? That's if you look at it like a tree, the roots start way back in the back as seedlings, and they grow into what you see on the surface. So your seniors are sitting up front row, and you got a bunch of redwoods and good looking oak trees. In the back, you see the seedlings, and you hope they'll grow into that. But they have to learn the way that we do it to become that kind of person. And Kurt Warner represents everything about UNI, perseverance. I texted him on Saturday before he even started the week, because it's Hall of Fame week. And the one thing that he represents, and I've told him this, his whole family does, his wife, and his son, and himself, his whole family represents perseverance, okay? And to me, that's the key to his success, because he's that type of character. So yeah, we told him about that. The other thing this week that happens in the Hall of Fame game is the Cardinals, correct? So now you're going to line up with, as I watched on TV one day, the 7th player out of 100 in the NFL, David Johnson. So that's another Northern Iowa guy. And then when they go on defense, you can watch Xavier Williams play defensive tackle. So we got the running back, we got the defensive tackle, and then when they have the presentation, you'll have Kurt Warner receiving the award. So to me, we may be, and I didn't study this, so correct me if I'm wrong, but we may be the only program that has all 3 of those things happening on Hall of Fame week. So when you look at it in the big picture like that, it's kind of unique, and that's why we all ought to be very proud of our university, of what's happened. And the last thing on the comment of this, because it's a good time to tie it in. As I sit back and I listen to our guys, those coaches speak, the common denominator they spoke about as they walked up in here is our community, correct? Every one of those guys says something about the community and the fans. And that's what makes this place roll. That's why it is what it is. It is the community that the people are drawn to in the end, and when you say that, that's the people that make a David Johnson, that make a Kurt Warner, that are at least a part of that process of what they become. Small, but effective. And I think that's what we all could be proud of, because he came from like us, with us, and maybe just a little bit of us got the start that they're making the way and the success they're having.
In the Valley, the difference between a 5-6 team, an 8-3, or a 9-2 team is 10 or 20 points, which is evident of your team last year. What does this team have to do this year to find that 10 or 20 points?
It's what you develop right now. It's the little things. It's everything that matters. It's a kick. It's a block. It's a be on time. It's go to class. It's lift at 7:15 a.m. It's run in the dark and the rain and the snow, and we're down here at the track because there's no turf in the dome. It's finding ways to win and not worry about what you don't have, but find a way to win with what you do have and not worry about the other junk. So, yeah, that's what makes 4 points. I don't know what's going to get me the 4 points or what they don't know. I just know it's a culture. It's if you do your time, it's a lot harder to beat you if I put my time in, and I did those things, and I did them as 105 guys. You can't just have 5 guys do it. You can't have 150 guys do it. You got to get the majority to do it, and they all got to buy in. And 4 points is a very small difference, and that's what you talk about. So this league, I mean, shoot, the way I looked at it, I've read a bunch of FCS stuff. It's got there's 10 top players in FCS, and I think 5 of them are in this league. There's the top 10. There's 5 teams from this league in the top 10, and we ain't one of them. So it's a strong league. I'm telling you, it's strong coaches, it's strong players, and we go on the road for some very difficult games. So we have to run in the rain, the snow, and the slick track, and the slick field. It doesn't matter, okay? We got a game coming up in September, and I got road games coming up that nobody cares where we come from. We're going to slap the helmet on, and we're going to go play our game.
Coach, trying to build depth everywhere right now, but which positions in particular, if any, stand out about where you need to build depth?
Good question. Depth. Actually, I feel good about depth in a lot of places, more so than I have in a lot of years. Old linemen. Last year I didn't think we had enough depth to be great. This year, right now, if I went on a travel roster, I'd take 9 guys. And now listen, when I say stuff, it's a standard too now. We talk about standards around here, not about being a starter. It's about standards of what these guys are talking about. That's what I coach to, okay? And the standard of our offensive line is good. So when I say a guy's a starter or could be a starter here, that means that I believe that our team could become, they're playing at you got a chance to win the league if you make this standard level. Right now, I'd say there's 7 guys there that could be developed in by the end of camp or midway through the season. And I think 9 guys have the ability to. Now, can we get them there? That's our challenge. They're not there yet. But last year, I couldn't have said that. Probably 3 last year. Now I can talk depth. When you say that, I always look for depth. If you got 2 inside linebackers, you need 3. If I got 3 guys that can win the league, we got a chance to win the league because somebody's going to get hurt. If we got 2 D tackles in there, I need 3 of them because somebody's going to get nicked up a little bit, but you still have to play. So I think we have depth in a lot of places. I'm not going to pinpoint one, but I'm sure when I get into this, it'll all come down to injuries. It's in our game right now, what do we get through camp? We got to come out of camp healthy, but we got to come out of camp ready to play too. And that's that balance you have to play right now, is being able to get after that practice and yet get out of practice without, putting yourself in danger. So something will happen, but we have to move and get ready for the first football game no matter what happens, and hopefully that's where that depth will stand out.
The ground game took, I won't say a step back last year, but it wasn't as productive last year. You think that's part of the offensive line, and you feel that the offensive line that you have this year is going to maybe get back to what you probably say is UNI football?
That's everything. You said it. I don't know if it's the old line. It's the old line. It's the coach. It's me. It doesn't matter. Okay. It's the culture of that group, and it always starts with those 5 offensive linemen that start. but pick a team at Northern Iowa that wasn't great that you couldn't name 2 or 3 offensive linemen on. Okay, I flipped on the tape for him the other night, and I think there was 4 NFL starters on one group one time in 2007. But I just want to make sure they understand what standards are. That's a standard. Okay, that's what we're working at, because that trail's already been blazed. All you have to do is put the time in, because you have the skill set, but you're going to have to work like those guys did to attain that level. So I believe we have the people in place to play to that standard, and hopefully we can develop that. But yeah, if we do it right, we should be able to run the ball a little bit further than we did last year.
Who's the most impressive newcomers?
Good question. SUNY Lane jumps to my head. SUNY Lane is a nice-looking young man from Bettendorf, and really wasn't on my radar till late in recruiting. Just a very fluent, smooth athlete that's very big, very athletic. So he stands out, just probably more as a surprise to me than anything else. And not that I didn't think he was, it was just how his skill set and what he is as a freshman it was a surprise. You know, he really came in here, and if you just walk him on the when you walk past him on the floor, very smooth skill set. I mean, there's a lot there to work with. Let's put it that way. And then, heck, for the Waterloo thing, Tyus Phillips. We just signed Tyus Phillips the other day. Tyus Phillips was the offensive lineman for Waterloo East, and we ended up through the whole process where I've always liked him. He's really big, but we really got into it, and Coach Simmons really liked him. And when your offensive line coach likes a guy, he's got great size. He's 6'7", 300 pounds today at 17 years old. You know, we'll see what he becomes when he's 21 years old. But that's exactly what we need to do to get at UNI, because we need that size, we need a future, and then they have to apply the work. And, you know, sky's the limit if they put their time in. So, but just a quick name that jumped to my head would be SUNY Lane. Anybody else?
Defensive line, you lose the defensive player of the young FCS, but this group could be as good as they were last year. Maybe not better because of the depth you have there.
Yeah, we lost the player of the year in Carter, and go figure, you know, 8-man football. I didn't know who Carter was either when he got here, and probably didn't know him after his first year. But Carter had that drive to him that it takes to win. So what I like about our team and the way that this place has been built is, I'm going to go back to Sam Cooter teaching the group right now, because he was taught by the guys before him that were really good. And now you go back to D-line to answer your question. They kind of pass the baton around a little bit of who coaches who. And when you work in a group all day long for years, and you kind of get used to what that room's like, so you become that room. Adam Reth is carrying the load right now of leadership. Preston Woods is carrying the load of leadership, sat in that room for 4 years now. Now it's his time to pass, you know, the ideas of what it is to play that position and what you have to do during Indo. And then even Bryce Douglas is learning, because he's in his second year, but being a transfer, you know, he's starting to get that instilled in him. So when you throw a young guy in the room, or, you know, a Brinkman, you know, he's just you know, he's got that mindset. So, but he has to learn from Adam, and you keep passing it on. So you put somebody in a room for 4 years with some guys, they kind of become like that room. But the room usually becomes like the coach. So I always look at the coach, because there's a lot of similarities, personality, position, and the personality of the coach.
The Allen brothers kind of came here as a package, if you will. You still see them as that?
A package?
Yeah.
Well, they're characters, all right? But here's what I think about. I coach Andre, and I can see so much of Andre in the two of them, two totally different young men. And their mom is great. And I can see the influences of their mom in these two guys. But what I love about the two guys, and what you had to love, for those people that remember Andre Allen, what you loved about Andre Allen is how he loved to play. He loved showtime. He loved game day. And he enjoyed the showmanship of the game. And take nothing from those two guys. They enjoy the game. And their personalities are very fun to be around. And they can take a tough instance and make it kind of a chuckle, because they got that personality where they keep that slight humor to everything, and they play hard and practice hard. So I can see the similarities, but those two have really brought a lot of personality to both their sides of the ball, offense and defense.
You've brought up Sam Cooter twice now as just a guy that's really shown a lot of good senior leadership for you guys. He was all-conference honorable mention last year, preseason all-conference honorable mention. You think he can even strive for more than that his senior year?
Yes, because Sam's kind of always been the one that was in the, in the shadows of everything, and but Sam can go out there and punt the ball 70 yards if he wants to, and Sam is the one that's catching the PAT field goals. Then he goes from right to left on top of it. So somebody go out and try to catch one for left-handed when you're a right-handed person. That takes a skill set. He makes it look like it's easy. That takes practice. You just don't go out and do that stuff. So when you look at an Adam Reth in the weight room, you look at Sam Cooter's time on the field, but what you don't know is Sam Cooter may be pound for pound the strongest player on this football team. I mean, when guys walk in, they say, "That's your punter." I go, "Yeah, that's the punter." Okay, but that's the standard too. All right. So, but he may be pound for pound the strongest guy in that room.
Coach, you talked a little bit about the league and how it's kind of daunting, but when you look at your out-of-conference opponents, there's a lot of pretty formidable opponents on there as well. I describe looking at that as a daunting schedule. How would you describe your upcoming schedule for this season?
A challenging one, because we need to. Depth is important because when you get into a challenge like that, you're going to take some solid hits. I look at the kinds of teams you're playing. Some are Big Ten style, powers type football. Some are more spread with speed in it. When you get into power games, you're going to get some hits at the line of scrimmage. You get in a Cal Poly game, you're going to get cut all the time. What are you going to do? Because those are all things that are going to wear and tear on you as you progress through the season. So I look at depth at the positions, knowing what we're going to be up against, anticipate that something's going to happen, that you need to make a replacement along the way, but it cannot affect the season because you got to keep moving and get to the next week. So the challenge is to get enough depth at each position to get them lined up and then get them lined up. And truthfully, what we've been doing for 5 days is I was looking at, do we have enough D tackles to do what we're going to do? And do we have enough receivers? What personnel group are we going to be in? Are we going to be in 3 receivers, 4 receivers, 2 running backs? What's going to go on the field? And we got 2 good tight ends we talked about. Well, what's your main personnel group then? Well, that group has to have the ability to get nicked a little bit and then get the next replacement in, and it looks the same no matter who's in the game. And that's why we're just trying to balance. I got some movement left here to move some guys around to create that depth and then use the remainder of camp to get them ready. So to answer your question, depth is the challenge to meet the challenge of the type of teams that we play. And then to go head-to-head to get these guys taught and lined up correctly schematically, because the league is a very strong coaching league right now. It's got some really good coaches in this league and good recruiting going on. I mean, this league has become the best of SCS football.
Coach, a little bit of a big picture question. Reported a couple weeks ago that the Big Ten is going to reverse its ban on not playing FCS football, at least partially. Were you surprised by that at all? And do you take it as a little bit of a sign that, hey, our level of football is getting pretty respected at a big-time level?
I think by how that all unfolded with them leaving and nobody following, meaning they weren't going to play FCS and nobody followed them, and then they have now rethought the process to see where they want to land in that. I think there is a respect factor there because they have come back and at least thought through the process of playing FCS football. And I think it's great for FCS football. There's no question it's tremendous for UNI football. We need to play Iowa State. We need to play Iowa. We need to play the Wisconsin game, the BYU game, wherever you want to send us. We need to play that game. We need to play it. We are competitive in that game, and we need to play it for our teams, and we need to play it for our university. And there's business behind that, but there's also respect and quality behind that. So when you throw names around as far as players and teams and stuff like that, we all know here that FCS football is excellent football and can line up on any time, and be very, get on any field and be competitive on that field for a weekend.
Did you ever get the feeling though that Iowa always enjoyed playing you guys? They didn't really necessarily maybe agree with the entire policy, that it was just Big Ten, it had nothing to do with it?
No, Iowa and Iowa State. Iowa and Iowa State have been, I want to even say the word loyal. Those two have been very loyal and respectful. I don't know if that's the right word, but been very respectful of playing us and wanting to play us. I mean, it hasn't been, we aren't going to play those guys. I've never, in the 17 years that I've been here, had those two programs uttered down this hallway that they won't play us in football. Sometimes they can't because of scheduling. Sometimes they can't because of how things lined up. But I have never in 17 years, those two schools say that, hey, we ain't going to play those guys for whatever reason. They're always, actually, I believe they want to when it fits in some of the things that they have to meet with their programs. No, I'm very thankful. That's why I like this. I'm telling you, Iowa's a great place. These new coaches are figuring that out. Anybody else? Thanks for coming.